Hi guys, in this video we're going to have a look at frequency trees. So this is slightly different to tree diagrams video, because the tree diagrams video, on the actual tree diagram you actually dealt with probability itself, whereas on this tree diagram we actually deal with the frequency, so how many people are actually doing whatever we're talking about in the question. Okay, so slightly different. Frequency is how many, and the probability trees you're actually dealing with probability on the branches. When we do a few examples, hopefully that'll become a bit clearer. So let's get started. So here's a nice easy one here, and this could be what they show you in the exam. They could give you a half completed frequency tree, and the very first question could quite simply be complete the frequency tree below. So we always start off on the left-hand side, and this will always be the total. Okay, and if we read the question, 100 students, so there we go, there's the total, 100, either walk to school or get dropped off. So walk to school and get dropped off. And then the diagram tells us from here, we also split into boys and girls. So quite simply, we follow the branches, and we're told that 36 students walk to school. If there's 100 in total, to work out how many are dropped off, quite simply we just do 100 take away 36, which of course gives us 64. Okay, so these two branches should always add up to whatever that one there is. Okay, it's like the same thing here. We've got 36 students walk to school, 21 are boys, so how many are girls? We'll just do 36 take away 21, which will be 15. And again, these two branches will add up to where they meet there. And last one here, 64 students were dropped off, and if 42 of them are girls, all we do is just do 64 take away 42, which gives us 22 boys, and again these two will add up to get that one. Okay, and that's it, you've completed the frequency tree. Of course you'll have a few different questions, so start off nice and simple and then get harder as the examples go on. So how many boys are there in total? Well, all we've got to do is just have a look at the branches. So I've got 21 boys there, and obviously I've got another branch here of boys which is 22. And then of course we just add them together, so we've got 43. Okay, always check all the branches just in case you've missed any there, but of course boys and boys, we've only got 2 there. Okay, so B is part 1 and part 2, or just 2 different questions here. So if a random student is selected, what is the probability? So this time we are being asked a probability about the actual frequency tree itself, and because a random student is selected, it's going to be out of 100. Okay, so what is the probability that they are a girl who gets dropped off? So let's have a look. Dropped off girls, there's 42 girls who get dropped off, and of course it's out of 100 because a random student, and there's 100 students in the whole question. So part B again, sticking with it, so it's just the same sort of thing. If a random student is selected, what is the probability a boy walks to school? So again, random student is being selected, so it's going to be out of 100. And what's the probability it's a boy who walks to school? So walks to school, boys, 21. Now, of course, in the question, they might ask you to simplify your answer if it's a fraction like so, in which case just simplify it. But usually with probability, they're quite happy for you to leave it like that. But just make sure you read the question and obviously do what they ask. Okay, so that's the basics. Let's get a bit trickier. So let's be the next one. So again, this time I haven't got anything on my diagram. I need to fill it in. So I'm going to read the question and start filling it in as we go. So a school has a total of 400 people made up of teachers and students. So the first thing I'm going to do is I know there's a total of 400. Okay, of teachers and students. They've done that bit for me. Lovely. There are 45 teachers. So straight away, if I know there's 45 teachers and there's 400 in total, I can just do 400 take away 45, which will leave me with 355 students. Okay, so I've done the first bit. So there are 45 teachers, brilliant, of which 30 are female. Okay, so we can put that bit in there. There's 30 female teachers. And once I know that, and I know there's 45, I can go 45, take away 30, will tell me that there are 15 male teachers. So remember, 30 plus 15 gets you the 45. Brilliant. The school has a total of 220 females at the school. Okay, so to work out how many female students there are, I can use that, but it's the total. So I already know there's 30 female teachers, so I just do 220, take away 30, tells me there is 190 female students left. And again, once I know that there's 190 and I know there's 355 students, I can just do 355, take away 190. I'll just double check before I potentially make a mistake. Yeah, 165. Okay, and of course, if you need to do, if it is non-calculator, just do a little bit of calculations if you need to. Right, so now we've filled in our frequency tree. Let's have a look at some questions. How many male teachers are there? So that's quite simple. Teachers, male, there are 15. Nice, easy mark to start off with. What's the probability of picking a female student? So student, female, 190 out of the 400. Okay. And then this is where you need to be a little bit careful of the wording. Find the probability a student, so it's not looking at the total now, it's saying find the probability a student, so it's going to be out of how many students there are, which is 355, is male. So once you've got that, 355, because that's how many students there are, how many are male, it's going to be 165 out of 355. So just be a little bit careful there. Make sure you read the question. Most of the time, it's going to be out of the total, but every now and again, they throw this sort of one in there, which is slightly trickier. So just have to read the question and make sure you're getting the denominator. What is it actually out of? So find the probability a student is male. Okay, so that's the second one. Let's have a look at another one, which brings in some trickier ways to fill in our frequency tree. So here again, we've been given the basics of the frequency tree. Instead of just telling you the numbers this time, we've got some percentages, some fractions, and we've got some ratios. So it just adds that extra element of difficulty into doing this. So let's see if we can fill this in. So a company has 800 employees, so that's cool. We can fill that in because that's the total. 65% are male, so all we need to do is find 65% of 800. Okay, now obviously if this was a non-calculator, you'd do that in the normal way. Check out my video for finding percentages of amounts, but I'm just going to cheat and very quickly use a calculator to find out that's 520. And then of course, if I know there's 520 males and in total there's 800, I can just do 800, take away 520 to get 280. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so that's the first bit done. 7/10 of the females are full-time. So I need to work out 7/10 of the females, so of 280. And again, fractions of amounts. Divide by the bottom times by the top, so 280 divided by 10 times by 7, or if it is a calculator, you can just do the fraction button. 7/10 times by 280 gives you 196 of the females are full-time, and again we can then work out the part-time. So I just do 280, take away 196, which is obviously, 84, yeah. Okay, so that's that bit done. The ratio of full-time to part-time is 4:1. Okay, so this time we have a ratio bit. And whenever you do ratio, hopefully you've checked out my ratio video already. But when you do ratio, we draw a table. So I've got full-time. I'm just going to call that F for full-time, P for part-time, and we always have the column for total. And we've got 4:1, giving us a total of 5. Okay, now we know there are a total of 800 employees in this company, so I can put 800 in the total column, and then I can work out what do I need to times 5 by to get to 800. So again, if you're unsure about that, what you can do is go the other way and do 800 divided by 5, which tells us it's 160. So I need to times by 160. And once I do that, I can do the same with all of these. So 1 times 160 is obviously 160, and 160 times by 4 gives me 640. Okay, a little bit of cheating going on there with the calculator. Okay, how does that help me? Well, I now know there are 640 people who are full-time, and we've also previously worked out that 196 of those are female. So I can now work out how many male full-time staff there are by doing the 640. Take away how many are female full-timers, and that gets me with 444. And again, we could use that, but let's just check it using this way as well. We've got 160 are part-time, 84 of those are female. So 160 minus the 84 gives me 76. Okay, let's just double check now. So I've got 76 plus 144. Yes, it's 520. Excellent, my diagram works. Okay, so it's just a slightly different way of filling it in, just using some of our percentage, fractions and ratio skills. Okay, but don't be put off, just do it step by step, fill it in as you go, and you shouldn't have any problems. And again, we have our usual set of questions here. How many part-time staff does the company have? So I've got 76 here, plus the part-time females here, which is 84. And if you add those together, that's quite nice actually. That'd be 90, yep, 160. Okay. Next question, find the probability of an employee. So again, we're out of the 800 here because it's the employees. So it's going to be out of 800 being a part-time female. So female, part-time, 84. So again, just be careful of that language. Find the probability of an employee, 800 is a part-time female, 84. Okay, and the last one here, find the probability 8 male employees. This time I'm looking at the male employees. So that's going to be out of 520, because that's how many male employees there are, is full-time. Well, there's 444 male employees that are full-time. Okay, so again, it's just that language. Just be careful you are getting it out of the right amount there. Okay, one last question just to show you how to do it if there are more than 2 branches. So let's have a look at that. And here we go. This is a beast. Right, let's get cracking then. So step by step, let's fill in this diagram. So 1,000 people were asked what they like to do in the evenings. So we've got 1,000 people. Nice easy start. And we've got retired, we've got working, we've got student, and we've got TV, film and books. So obviously they've broken up the 1,000 people into these 3 categories and what they enjoy here. Okay. The ratio of retired to working to student is 1:4:3. So again, it's a ratio and we'll draw a table. So I'm going to use R for retired, W for working, S for student, and then of course we need our total. And we've got 1, 4 to 3, which gives us a total of 8. And we know there's 1,000 people. So what do I need to times 8 by to get to 1,000? So again, just go the other way. So 1,000 divided by 8. So you can half it, and half it again, and it comes out at 125. So I need to times 8 by 125 to get to 1,000. So 1 times 125 is obviously 125, and then 4 times 125 is 500, and then 3 times 125 is 375. So we can just add those onto our diagram there. Excellent, so that's the first bit done, tick, lovely. 1/5 of retired said films. Okay, so we just need to do 1/5 of 125. That's quite nice. Actually, just divide that by 5. That's going to be 25. And that was films. So again, it's just using fractions of amounts. 60% said reading books. So find 10% and times it by 6. I'm going to cheat and just do 60% times by 125 is 75. And that was books. And then, of course, we can add these two up to find out what needs to be there. So 75 plus 25 is 100. If it's 125, 25 must have said TV. Cool. That's that bit done. The ratio of TV to films to books for students is 4 to 6 to 5. Okay, so let's draw another table down here. I've got a bit of space here. So we'll do T for TV, F for films, B for books, and then obviously we have our total. And it's in the ratio of 4, 6 to 5, which gives me a total of 15. And because it says for students, the students here, I know the total is 375 from before. So what do I need to times 15 by? Let's just have a quick look. By going backwards, 375 divided by 15 gives me 25. So I just need to times all of these by 25. Well, 4 times 25 is nice, that's 100. 6 times 25 is 150, and then 5 times 25 is 125. And of course you could just check all that adds up to 375, which it does, yeah. So let's put that in. So TV for students was 100, film was 150, and books was 125, and we've dealt with that. 3/10 of the working said book, so 3/10 of 500. So divide by 10 is 50, times by 3 is 150. So we can do that one without too much bother. So that gives us 150. And book, said book, and TV and film were the same. So I'm just going to do 500, take away 150, which is 350. And I'm going to half it, because both of those are the same, which is 175. So a big one there. Really good stuff though. Hopefully if you're doing this with me, you got the same answers as that, which would be awesome. And we have our standard questions. So how many people said film? So again, just like before, we need to check all the branches that are film. In the previous examples, there were 2. But obviously in this one, we're going to have film here, here, and here. So there's actually 3 we need to be careful of. So we've got 25. We've got 175. And we've got 150. So that's going to give me 200 and 350. Lovely. Okay. Next one, find the probability a person picked at random. So again, person picked at random, so it could be anyone, so it's going to be out of 1,000. Said book. Okay, how many people said book? We got 75 there. We've got 150 there. And 125. Okay, so if you add those all up, that gets us 350 again. So it's 300 people said book out of obviously the total of 1,000 people, because it says the probability a person picked at random. And the last question here, find the probability a student, so out of 375, because that's how many students there are. Find the probability a student said TV, and 100 students said TV. So it's just 100 over 375. Okay, guys, so that's everything with frequency trees. Hopefully that's addressed some problems or misconceptions or answered any questions that you might have had. Thanks for watching. Cheers.